Welcome to the Clean Library Podcast, where content meets conscience. We believe there are millions of you readers out there desperately searching for a better way to find clean content. Each episode, we will introduce you to a new author of clean books, giving you, your family, and your friends clean options.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Marcus Williams. This is my partner, Brock Morris. And today we are excited to have on our show our guest, Marian Scadden. And she has a ton of experience that we are very interested and excited to dive into. She graduated in child drama from Brigham Young University. She writes scripts. She writes books. She's been involved in children's theater for years in many states in the West and Northwest. So a lot there, and we'd love to just dive in and hear all about her journey in becoming an author and being published and all of that. So Marian, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Why don't you just start by telling us about your journey in becoming an author? How did that happen?
Well, I always say that I'm embarrassed to tell everybody that I did not start writing at 5. Didn't know I was going to write. It's just that there were these times that I needed to write a script or two because of not wanting to pay royalties or not having the people who auditioned. I didn't have enough, or I had too few, or whatever. And so it was like, oh, I better just write a script right quick. So I did. And that started everything. After you do it once or twice, it's like, okay, rather than have to find a script, it's like, I'll just write one because it's faster. Instead of reading all the descriptions and trying to figure out, are there enough female parts, male parts, other parts? So that's what I did.
That's awesome. So you, in your bio that you sent to us, you included 2 truths and a lie. And so as we go along, Brock and I are going to try to figure out which one is the truth and which one is the lie. So I want to read those now, given kind of your background and that information you've given us. Let's read those now, and then we're going to guess at the end. So don't let us forget before we end that we need to make a guess, all right?
Okay.
All right, so she wrote, I've written 92 scripts. I play the piano. I've made up 103 songs. So 92 scripts, plays the piano, or has made up 103 songs. So everybody listen close, see if you can figure it out as well, and we'll see if we can figure that out as we go.
Our goal is going to be to try to trip her up to give away the answer, to give away some secrets.
I'm trying not to trip myself up. I'm sitting here going, oh, hey.
So if we say, so is that one of the 103 songs that you've written?
I'll have to stop.
That might be a little obvious there. Okay.
Yeah.
So you graduated in child drama.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you always wanted to stay in that genre and write things that are appropriate for children, or have you ever strayed into adult content? Like, what has kind of led that?
Because I always read, or usually read, YA or middle grade, and probably as I've gotten older, I read more of that because they're shorter. I know that sounds awful, but it's like, sometimes big people material, it just goes on and on. But anyway, the thing is I've always been pretty much an avid reader. And so one year I found out about and decided to write during NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. It's in November, and you write as fast and furiously as you can. If you get 50,000 words, you win. You don't win an object, you get bragging rights. And quite frankly, it was so neat to just, you're not supposed to start with something you've already written. You can start with an outline. You can start, and I thought, I'll just do this. Oh man, it was so nice because I didn't let myself go, oh, that's a stupid sentence, or I didn't like the name of that town, or I should describe it more this way, or whatever. And so I ended up doing it several times and ended up with one book that I actually ended up publishing, and then a couple of others that I've started but have never gotten finished. Oops. But I also like picture books and things of that, the picture books. But that can be really hard as well, trying to get it down to where, okay, what do I see in my head? Or what do I think the illustrator will be able to get across so that I'm not having to put in the words? So that's a fun thing to do. But, oh, man. So what was the question? Oh, have I delved into anything else? Okay, yes. There you go. Picture books and YA/middle grade. Yeah, that kind of thing.
So one of the things we're kind of exploring is just there's so much out there, and it's hard to tell what is appropriate or clean as an adult or for kids or for grandkids or whatever. Have you found, you said you like reading YA. Have you found that over the years there's been a shift in what's acceptable in a YA novel, and can we still trust them?
There are definitely some that I don't read. I mean, I'll get started. There were some that were like, oh man, that sounds good. So I start, and once we get into some really intense graphic scenes, language, I go, nope, not going to do it. I have to go on to something else. I love some of the themes. I do have a friend who thinks that YA and middle grade and all of that kind of fiction is not deep. I like the deep books, she has said. And it's like, oh man, the YA and all of that, they bring out some really good themes. But I just don't read it if I'm going to have to weed through a lot. And maybe that started when I was in high school. Okay, I know it's one of those books that either people love it or hate it, but it was in my lit class and I was reading along, and it was quite the swearing book. And it shocked me out of the story every single time. And since it had something bad within every paragraph, I didn't get to follow the story. I was busy going, oh, there's another one. Oh, there it is again. So I'm sad to say that it was like, okay, yeah, that's a classic. But, at that point in time, I was busy reading classical sci-fi and fantasy and always wondered why that wasn't considered classic.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So that
that's an interesting,
go ahead.
That's an interesting point you bring up. That's one of the things that Marcus and I have discussed in the past is, Are we starting to see YA as a category not being something you can trust as much as a consumer from a content standpoint, right? So it used to be you could look at YA and think, okay, this is something that I can read relatively securely, or I can recommend to my kids or other people, and the content's going to be of a young adult nature, right, or middle grade, as you said.
Yes. But
that's kind of drifting a little bit, right? And that's at least the sense we've had.
Yeah, and with this, classic book, it was YA. And that was how many years ago? I'm not telling you, but that was my high school. And so, yes, there's some stuff that came out way back when. So, yeah, there's stuff now it's hard.
Yeah.
Because you want to read it all. Or rather, it just sounds so good and you like the theme, or you like whatever's going, what you read on the back label. And it's like, okay, well, I'll start and I'm done.
Yeah.
You just have to learn to be done. And
sometimes that's difficult when the story is interesting, or it doesn't hit until halfway through, and then suddenly, that didn't happen to be Catcher in the Rye, did it?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yep. Yeah, I once said that online, and somebody goes, "Oh, I bet it's a Catcher in the Rye. I love that book," and I hate that book.
Yeah.
There are, and I did have a lot of lit classes because of what I was going into, children's lit classes, and I was struggling through reading Alice in Wonderland. Oh boy, that was like, is there a story in here at all? And my professor said, look, you don't have to finish it. Alice in Wonderland is one of those, you hate it or you love it. There's not an in between, apparently. So
yeah, my former career in law enforcement and doing child exploitation cases, I'm
Ugh,
not
yeah.
a fan of Alice in Wonderland. That is not a book that I'm okay with.
Okay. Well,
but
okay.
but yeah, I mean, I like. I found interesting the point you made about your friend saying you have to read mature books in order for them to have meaning.
Yeah.
So, do you find it difficult to create concepts or imagery in a clean way that would appeal to a mature audience? Or
The quick answer is no.
okay,
I don't find it difficult either. I guess I look at it this way. For me, myself, I'm not going to add anything extra. Just to be noticed. I don't get that, because a good story is a good story.
Yeah.
I've read too many good stories, and you know what's going on, and you're crying or laughing or whatever throughout the whole thing. Same thing I feel like with plays. Also being in theater, there were also a lot of reading of plays, and there's one that's one of those classics, and it's like, you know what? Not doing it. I won't do it as a director, and I'm not going to read it ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Just not on my, no, it's not going to happen. I think, like I said, a good story is a good story. Just like good comedy, clean comedy. I think it's harder because there's no shock value. And I've never worried about it, because most of my writing is not for everybody. I mean, how many people do you know who pick up children's scripts just to read them? You know, so.
And you made a great point earlier too, which is something we've identified before, which is sometimes it is more distracting if there's the more graphic the content is, right, from the story. It can actually pull you out of the world. It can pull you out of the story and not be as entertaining of a story.
Yeah. Not when it pulls you out. Not when nah.
So, in your NaNoWriMo when you wrote your novel,
yes,
and that
yes.
month, where did the inspiration come from? How did you get your ideas?
Okay, so starting with the starting sentence, I thought, oh, this is going to be good. I'm going to write a middle grade. Now, throughout this time, I've also been part of SCBWI, Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and I had a small writers group, and my friend wrote and illustrated, and she had some middle grade stuff, and my other friend was doing YA, and I mean, it was a small group, because we figured if we had to travel anywhere to be in the writers group, we probably would start quitting the writers group. Mm-hmm. So it was just us, and it was in our little town. And with NaNoWriMo, I thought, oh yeah, I can start with this sentence. And I was thinking middle grade. Oh yeah, let's do a story, and instead of just a picture book. And my first sentence was going to be, she didn't want to look like a coward, so she hit him again. That was going to be my starting. It was going to be in the playground. I started with that. And the next thing I know, it is totally that first paragraph. That was it. It was fantasy. Suddenly I've got this young girl trying to hit her brother, and he's trying to tell her to quit it. But she's in trouble for going into the whatever woods I named him. Isn't that terrible? I don't even remember the name of my woods. But so yeah, the inspiration was just the start of a sentence, and then it's amazing. Sometimes you just start. You don't think. You don't try to stop and think. You just think, ooh, what happens next? I mean, even you're going, I don't know, but let's throw him under the bus. Not literally, but
So you're not.
Do you think that writing approach lends itself to writing anything, whether it's a book or a script, or does it benefit you or anyone if you can just sort of free yourself and start that way?
It has really been freeing for me. The cool thing is that I've been to a lot of conferences, and there have been people who have said that kind of thing. Oh, turn off your critic in your head. Turn off your. And I've seen people who write and write and write, and they almost but never get done. I should say that about myself with some of my other projects, but Many times with some of the plays that I've written, it's been I've done it either an all-nighter or an all-dayer all-nighter and an all-dayer or just two all-dayers, you know, because I get on a roll. Now, my scripts are usually shorter, 30, 45 minutes. I have done some other kinds of longer scripts, hour and a half, but I just felt like when I'm on a roll, I'm on a roll. Now, of course, you have to take eating breaks and all of that. But, sometimes I would tell the family, I'm closed. If you have to ask permission to do it, the answer's no. And you go do something that you don't have to ask permission for. So I like being able to write it all at once. With NaNoWriMo, I figured it out. I did the math and figured out that if I did 5 days a week, and it would take me about 2.5 hours, and I would get up early. When I was coming back to the story within the next day, and I was doing 2.5 hours worth, that was 2,500 words, by the way. When I was doing that, I didn't have to reread it. Now there's the projects that aren't done, and I'm going to have to go back and reread, figure out who's who, what's what, and what all the names are. I hope I kept notes. I did. I kept notes. But anyway, because even while I was writing it, but man, if I can plow through, the joy is I have a finished product. Do I have to edit it? Yeah, you bet I do. But it's also done. Yeah. It is done. Now, I have to go back and edit. It certainly cuts down on writer's block. It's the put your butt in the chair kind of a thing. I've heard that over and over again at all the different conferences. Put your butt in the chair. You got to put your butt in the chair. Sometimes they didn't use that word, but if you take the time to do that. And yes, you have to find the time and make the time. I've heard of people who do 10 minutes. If they can just get in 10 minutes a day, they're great. And when I sit down to do, I have to do one sentence. I'm just going to do my one sentence. And sometimes I'll do the one sentence, but sometimes it just, an hour later, I'm going, I should see if everybody's all right. Yeah. Go pet the cats, make sure they're not hungry. Talk to the husband, make sure he knows I'm alive.
So there's the writing journey and then publishing. There's that leap from taking your work. Yeah. What is the biggest challenge for you in actually self-publishing your works?
I say, I keep telling people, it's much easier than it used to be. It's much easier. But then I realized I took the time to research the two different places that I published at. I started with Smashwords, but now that's part of Draft to Digital, and they're doing physical books as well. And then Amazon. And I chose to do Amazon separate. They didn't distribute there. Amazon doesn't always take it. But if I go to Amazon and just upload it, then I can be there. But with those two, I still had to figure out how to format my book, especially with Smashwords, how to format it in such a way that as an ebook, it would still come out pretty and not messed up. With Amazon, I used their templates when I was doing script collections. I don't care. I mean, it's a template, and these are not necessarily for absolutely everybody in the world. So I'm good with it. Although my script collections have gone quite a number of places. I think like if it says, I look on there and I see Japan, somebody in Japan has been buying things, and I think, they're doing it so that they can teach English. And then I see Australia has one or two or whatever. And I'm thinking, I think they already speak English there.
Maybe they just like your scripts.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah, I like to think that's it too.
So do you think writing clean material is a disadvantage or an advantage in the marketplace?
I go back to a good story is a good story.
Okay.
I think it's an advantage. Maybe. I don't know. I've heard it both ways. No, I think personally it's advantage because you can absorb everybody and not just some people. Those of us who like clean. If we like a good story, we like a good story. You put them together, we're going to do it. We're going to buy it. We're going to read it. We're going to listen to the audio book. But with stuff that's iffy, we may not read it. And we may not let our kids read it, and they can read it when they're not kids anymore. And I think that's the deal. I think it's a matter of clean gets everybody, as long as it's a good story.
Yeah. So what's your process then when you're looking for a new book and trying to figure out whether or not it's clean?
I read the back. I read reviews. I glance through it. And if I start reading, if I do start, or somebody else will tell me about it and I'll read it, which is nice about this podcast too, because you're talking about some of the clean books, stuff, material that's out there. And so people can go, okay, fine, thank you. Now I don't have to go dig too deeply. I watched you guys' first episode and know that you were talking about you tried to dig deep, but you didn't dig deep until after you found out, okay, I'm not going to read that one anymore. And once you dug deep, you really had to dig deep to find anything that mentioned anything about the content itself. Right. And if, like I said, if I'm reading along, as much as I like the book, it's like I'll stop. Yeah. I've got so many books on my bookshelf, not on my bookshelf. Yes, in the bookshelf, but I mean on my bedside table, a big old swamp and big stack. I've got books in here. I've got things I've got to write, things I got to do. So I cannot read those. I don't have a problem with stopping. Oh well, I wish I could, but nope. It's gone beyond.
Plenty standing in the line behind them. So,
yeah.
So on the topic of clean, if I can maybe put you on the spot a little bit, but knowing that term, even using that term clean, right, is a bit subjective. Yeah. In your mind, as we use that term, as you use that term, what is maybe just a brief definition of, to you, what does clean actually even mean?
I think that, let me think what I think. What do I think? I think that for me, it's a matter of, I don't want graphic scenes. I realize that young adults can do that, can be that way. I don't want really intense bad words. I don't need that. Oh, I love science fiction when they make up their own bad words. It's great. It's great. Okay. So, I can't deal with the shock value type of scenes or words, things like that. For me, it does not have to be all goodness and light either. I can read a theme that's a little bit, just makes me want to cry and go save all their children. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be about a family that's praying together. It does not have to be Christian. Good people doing good things is great, and surviving bad things. That's fine. I personally can't do the graphic violence, the graphic sex, the graphic or intense bad words.
No, it absolutely makes sense. And I think you hit on a couple of things there that are really key, which is, we know life isn't clean, and we know that sometimes you have to emotionally connect to life experiences. You have to describe both the good and the bad, but it doesn't have to be done in a way, and to be emotionally connected to a story, it doesn't have to be done in a way that's graphic, right? And right. Intense in the same way. You can still feel an intensity of motion or of emotion and describe the scene in a way you feel connected without it being graphic.
Yeah. That's how I am. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So is there something that present you would tell past you to have made your journey easier?
Okay, I have been thinking about that, and no, the answer is no. I found the answers when I was ready for them. I recently went to a conference that was all day, and I was listening to all the stuff. Now, have I run into a lot of this? Yeah. But a couple of the other people there, this was all new for them, and I thought I would have quit. I would have stopped. Too much effort, too much time. No, but because I was on a journey of, oh, look, I can write a script and it comes out good. Oh, yay. I think I'll write another one and another one and another one. Anyway, so I wrote a lot. Hey, the scripts are already done. Maybe I could just ebook them and people will still have to pay me for, I put it in clearly in the scripts. You still have to pay me royalties if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But I was ready for that. Let me figure out the ebook thing. Oh, look at that. I did it. How about that? That's good. And then the NaNoWriMo, in case anybody forgot yet, National Novel Writing Month, which is November. They also have one in April, I think. Anyway, intense writing. And I thought, oh yeah, let's see if I can do this. And I did it, much to my surprise. And I was ready for that. And then it was time to take on, I thought, I wonder if I make them into physical books, will it make a difference? And that's when I was ready to figure out that. I'm not so hot on marketing.
Yeah.
But people find me anyway. I'm either lackadaisical marketing or not very efficient on marketing. And so I'm not worried about that. I haven't made this my entire career. I live off my husband, so that's good. But still it brings in extra dollars. And I like that. I like being able to do that. But, if somebody had told me all of this, here's how you market, here's how you get in ebooks, here's how you make it into physical books, and you ought to do both at the same time, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you better advertise your stuff in theater magazines, and we don't know which one's the best for you. And no.
It's just overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and look for these costs. Okay. No, I got a family. That cost is not coming out of my pocket and out of the kids' mouths. We are not eating mac and cheese for the rest of our lives. Nope. Yeah. Not happening.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's pretty overwhelming because I kind of went through the same thing. I taught myself. I did a lot of research. So there's
a powerful life lesson in what you just said too. So many times we should ourselves, right? Like I should have done this. I should have done that. And I think across the board, oftentimes we're learning when we're supposed to learn. And yeah, sometimes we miss opportunities to learn things, but most often it's the right thing at the right time and we learn it in the moment. And certainly there's an opportunity to avoid pain, if we would have known certain things, but that's growth comes through that as well, right?
Yeah. I just appreciate being able to learn a little as I go and watch my friend do his own publishing company thing. And that was so long ago that it cost extra if he did it through Amazon. And then it got to a point that it didn't. And then I've got other friends on Instagram, and now Draft to Digital is doing the physical books. I mean, there's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
And that can be overwhelming. Yeah.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier about being in a writing group.
Yes.
Do you find those helpful, or what would your advice be to someone looking to become an author about writing groups?
I learned a lot within my writing group, my writers group. I learned how to edit as we went. I mean, good critiquing, not just, oh, that was terrible or whatever. That doesn't help anybody. But also learning how not to rewrite for them, but then being able to take a look at what I've done and figure out, hold it, I just read that out loud and I stumbled across that sentence. Maybe I better rework that sentence, that paragraph, that scene, whatever. And I learned a lot from them too. Just some of the critiques that they've given me. Oh, I never thought about that. It's just been great. And when I first started being in a writer's group, we were a writer's group of 2. It grew to 3, 4, 6, back down to 2. And, it was really very great because both of us were moms with young kids at home. And we knew that if we didn't celebrate the little steps that we made that day or for the week, we met weekly, then we would think ourselves failures. It was so encouraging to have yet another person who knows what we're going through. And I'd write it down for you. I don't know if I threw all that away, but it was just the little things. Okay. So, all right. What 3 things did you manage? Well, for my friend, as an illustrator, she got to count all of her drawing that she did. She managed to, I submitted to this and did the other thing. And that was it. I mean, sometimes it seemed like the smallest things to move forward. And really and truly, now that I'm at a point that I can, I do hang out with the grandkids a lot, but still I've got more freed up hours now than I've ever had. So I can do what I darn well please half the time. And so I'm free to, even now, it's good to have the writers group to listen, to express, even to express disagreement, not necessarily with my own manuscript, but with somebody else's. Oh, you said that about it? Well, I really like that part. So that people realize this is opinions.
Right.
It might still work for your good to make changes, but these are opinions. And I always try to make sure that when I'm giving my opinion, people know that I'm saying this, but it has a question mark at the end. I think it might work better that. So I think writers groups are really a fantastic way. I don't care how good you think you are. That's number 1. But number 2 is also, I know some of these people are paying for editors, and that's always a good thing. But you can start that self-editing process by listening to a writer's group. You may end up with such a good story that you don't need quite so much editing. Which famous author turned in her book and it was so perfect they didn't make any changes? Was it Ursula Le Guin? Was it I don't remember. One of those interesting stories. I bet she had a writer's group. I don't know. Or a very good friend who knows what she's doing.
Yeah. Well, and I can show you multiple professionally edited books that still have mistakes in them.
Oh, yeah. I noticed, y'all probably know Ranger's Apprentice. I read through, I think I managed to get through all those books. Okay, it's been a while. But I noticed that the later books, there were more often the little typos. And I thought, okay, I'm good with it. It didn't destroy my faith in books, but still.
But that almost makes you feel like, okay, my book doesn't have to be perfect because this book, which is popular and published, isn't perfect. Okay.
And you know what? Along with that is the idea of people who are trying so hard to get it perfect that they don't publish.
Yeah.
I heard one editor a long time ago at a conference, and she was also a writer. And she said, yes, I've gone through 40 versions. I'm thinking, you mean 40 times or 40 versions? 40 versions. She changed the point,
point of view.
Thank you. She changed the point of view. She changed something else about it. She changed something else about it. And I thought, you're never going to get done. I just remember reading a business book once. Okay. I also have to do a lot of learning on business. And the person was saying, look, just do what they do in the computer world. Get out deliver. That was his point. Deliver.
Yeah.
Get out 1.0. And if you have to go back and do 1.5 and 2.0, all right, not as easy with the books. On the other hand, get it out there. I know another woman who's had her book. She's been working on her book 20 years. I know. It's like, get it out there. Be done. Move on.
Yeah.
Her book is one of those, it's like, I'm going to go tell her. I'm going to, after we're done. No, I won't. Maybe later. But just publish it. And I think she's planning on self-publishing. Mm-hmm. And at this point, it's like, move on. To me, it sounds like you're scared. And I know fear. I can't tell you how much my finger has hovered over the publish this now. Did I do everything? Did I go through it? Did I check something? Oh no. Did I remember to check all of the spell check? Did I go through spell check at least 5 times? Did I remember to change the name of this city, person, whatever, all the way through the book? Did I do my cover right? What am I missing? And it's like, forget it. Push the button. Done. Oh. Go have my root beer float.
That sounds like that's really one of the benefits of that writers group too, right? That fear, right? To sort of start to get comfortable with that and the vulnerability it takes to put your work out to the world or to at least a small group. And you can kind of dip your toe into that water and say, I can get comfortable with criticism. I can get comfortable with edits and things like that. But I also don't have to, I can get comfortable with putting out an imperfect piece, right? So not letting that perfection get in the way of good, right? And get something out.
Right. And to get all, if you're going traditional, to get traditional publishing and you get all those rejection letters or the no letters. I remember there was a point where it was, and if you don't hear from us in 6 months, then you can submit to some other place. And I thought, 6 months. Do I have enough years left in my life to wait for 6 months for everything I do? And that's why I ended up self-publishing, because it's like, no, I don't. I've got too many stories I got to do stuff with. Yeah. But, you said something and I thought of, yes. In one of the conferences that I went to, a woman that I knew, had just gotten her own book published. She had been a work for hire. So she'd been one of those people who were writing for school books, for the little guys. And she was talking about it. It was great. She got up and she began and she said, and after years of attending conferences and having editors critique my work and having them say the opposites, and it's like, whoa, wait, take that back a minute. You mean you had differences of opinion? I mean, she ran into differences of opinion. It's like, oh my gosh, that's right. It's an opinion. And I tried it. I went to one conference and submitted a manuscript of mine. The woman, the senior editor of, I forget which house, wanted me to send it to her. She was going to talk to her people, all of her team. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've made it. It ended up not being gotten because they had recently published one similar. Okay. It's like pirate. It had pirate in it. And the pirate captain was female. And she loved the whole story. And then 6 months later, I'm at another conference and I thought, I wonder. And I submitted that one again to a different editor this time. And she did not like it. And she felt like it would be more readable if the pirate captain were male instead of female. And I thought, opinion. Yep. I suppose if you hear the same thing many, many times in your critique group and they're saying, I'm having a hard time with that one, then maybe it's time to relook at something. But it's opinion. Go publish it. Just go publish it. Just do it. I love
that. Yeah. So tell us some of the titles so that the people listening can look them up.
Oh, okay. That caught me off guard. Do I have it listed here? Okay. I have a series, 5 fun plays for kids to perform or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, geez. I'm having a cheat.
Is there, do you have a website that they can go to?
Yes. Performancesclassesbooks.com. I've got everything listed, including the ones I'm working on, or I might have those ones on my author blog, which is just marianscadden.com.
Okay.
So performancesclassesbooks.com. Yes.
How many of those scripts are musicals with original songs?
Are you trying to answer the question? After you answer that question, I'll tell you more.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Well, then maybe should we jump into, is it time to see if we can unveil what is the lie?
Let's try it.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm going to go, based on that question and a conversation earlier. So I'm going to put this out here.
Uh-oh.
I think that the truths are that you've written 92 scripts and you play the piano, but not the 103 songs. Because as we were talking about how your approach to that rapid writing process and what else that applies to, I didn't hear you mention lyrics at any point. So my assumption is it's the song. So I'll put that out there. But Marcus, I'll let you go.
I'm going to say the lie is playing the piano.
Okay, you ready for the answer?
Yeah.
Let's have it.
I cannot play the piano.
Yes.
Marcus.
I got it.
Yes. I have written 103 songs and I take it to my friends. I put it on tape, or I go to my friends in person who know how to who know how to play the piano, and they get it ready for me and print it out for me in sheet music. So yes, I did 2 musicals. One was Parables, the musical. Oh, you should hear the sheep song. It's pretty good. It starts with "Run hither, run thither." Okay, that's all you get of that song. and then I was able to put in script format Michael McLean's book, A Distant Serenade. It's one of those that I heard so long ago, and he insists that his mother and I are the only 2 who actually bought the book. And it had the music CD with it. And I didn't write that music. I had to write some words to it. But he was able to send to me, what are they called? Off tracks? I always forget. They're just the tracks. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to get the kids to use those to sing. Kids, it was a community thing. So the youngest was 8, the oldest was 60. I don't know.
Cool.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
So is there another clean author out there you would recommend our listeners to read and us to interview?
I really enjoyed, I just finished reading Susan I don't know how to pronounce it. Phelan. Susan Phelan. Jeez, I'm embarrassed now. I'm going to have to go ask her. Anyway, I just finished her Misclassified. I loved it. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, the little tears well up because you realize, I didn't realize I had that much of a problem with 7th grade, but reading that brought back some of those memories, and I was like, oh man.
Maybe a little traumatic, huh?
Oh, it was.
Oh, 7th
grade. And I also these indie authors are incredible. Lee Strauss, who's also gone by L. Strauss, Cozy Mysteries. And she's also done, what was it? She did some in L. Strauss, and I'm sorry, I can't remember a couple of her book names, but Lee Strauss and L. Strauss. I don't even know if hers are anything other than ebooks. I don't think she's done physical books. I've just loved them. I mean, I read a lot of hers, and then I had to go work on my own projects. Yeah. Okay, and then another one. She is a rocket scientist. And her name is Susan K. Quinn. And I love her Open Minds book, sci-fi. Okay. But oh man, Oh man, but she does have a couple of series that I decided not to read because it did have some content. But her Open Mind series, it's the Mind Jack series, really good, really fun to read.
Awesome.
So loved it.
Great recommendations.
Yeah. She also wrote, what are they? Royals of Daria, Dharia. And it starts with third daughter, goes to second daughter, goes to first daughter. Love that one too. Steampunk-ish.
Okay.
So
cool. Well, thank you so much for being on our episode this week. That was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Very interesting. Really appreciate you being on. For everyone listening, if you are an author or if you know an author, you can find the link in the description if you would like to be a guest on the podcast. And thank you for listening to the Clean Library Podcast, where content meets conscience.